Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, with the international tourism market now back to pre-COVID levels, many European destinations are actively looking to entice Irish holidaymakers onto their shores. One such destination is Normandy in France, and here to tell us more about its proactive approach to attracting Irish tourists is Michael Dodds, head of the Normandy Tourism Board. Michael, we'll be hearing about why the Normandy Tourism Board is planning a friendly invasion of the southeast next weekend. But first, I'd like to delve into your Irish connections.
Good morning. I'm an Anglo-Irishman, born in London, raised in Brighton on the south coast of England, but I have a very proud Irish mother from Bantry, and that explains a lot about my personality and my pride in my Irish roots. And those Irish roots, as you can understand, in this weird post-Brexit climate is extremely important. So I have an Irish passport, which has become very, very useful. Thanks, Mum.
And tell us about your early career and your experience within the tourism sector.
I've been working in tourism and marketing straight after a recreation and tourism management course at Loughborough University. I worked for a tourism consultancy company in France 30 years ago. People were raving about the importance of the single market and how UK and Irish companies should be exporting their services to the continent. So I followed the trend and helped set up a French version of this British consultancy company and did that for 16 years, and then was offered the opportunity to run Brittany Tourist Board for 9 years, which was a fantastic experience. And then I was courted by the Normans. After they reunified their region, they wanted a more convincing tourism and marketing strategy. And so I joined them 5 years ago, and it's been great fun.
So after the turbulence caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, how would you assess the recovery of the French tourism sector, Michael?
It's been spectacular. COVID obviously knocked us, like everyone, for six. And the sector was strongly supported by the French government and French state and regional aid as well, because they were in all sorts of difficulty. We were hopeful that there would be a strong domestic rebound, but we had no idea at that level. So there was a strong rebound, particularly last year, 2022. We were almost back to 2019 levels, which was a record level for tourism in Normandy. And all the signals are very much green here in 2023. And in 2024, what with major events like the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings, Normandy Impressionist Festival, spin-offs from the Olympic Games, everything's looking, the wind has turned in our favour, and tourism is booming now in France, and particularly in Normandy.
And what are the jewels in the crown of Normandy tourism?
The major sites, the Mont Saint-Michel, the Etretat Cliffs, Monet's House Gardens in Giverny, and the D-Day landing beaches are the sort of international stars. In many ways, our challenge is to make sure that people have a good experience there, but are also encouraged to get off the beaten track and to slow down and to get on their bikes and go out into the countryside or explore some of the lesser-known seaside resorts, enjoy the food, enjoy the cider, enjoy the Calvados tasting.
And how strongly then do you work and collaborate with the likes of Tourism Ireland and Fáilte Ireland?
Well, I'd say more and more, because it's just making sense. The whole sort of post-Brexit dynamic has encouraged your good selves to look more spontaneously towards France as the natural European Union neighbour just across the water there. And it's normal that you have strong affinities with Brittany, but it's also normal that you have strong affinities with Normandy, and so we want to encourage that. And this has been understood and shared, and I can't say that we have an intricate, detailed plan with the Tourism Ireland or Board Fáilte together, but we've certainly been having more and more discussions, and we're actively looking at joint marketing opportunities, and we're very excited about that in the long term. But it's also excited by the big investment by all the ferry companies, be it Brittany Ferries, Irish Ferries, Stena. They're all investing in improving links between Ireland and France, and in particular the port of Cherbourg, which positions itself really as the natural landing point for the Irish in France and the European continent.
And it has to be said, more can be done around this because we have such a direct link from the southeast and especially Wexford through Osler Europort right into Cherbourg, into the heart of Normandy.
That's right. I mean, I can understand the temptation for many is when they come across, they want to go straight down south and be guaranteed sunnier climes and the rest of it. But I think our challenge, and it's an easy challenge, frankly, is to convince you that, well, hold on a minute, you could do a super short break in Normandy and really enjoy yourselves. And you don't have to leave your main holiday to the month of August. You could come out of season a bit as well. And we've got everything. We've got all sorts of activities and super historical sites to visit. And the food, obviously, is like a major plus point. And we do a lot of promotion on the gastronomic side, as you can imagine.
I would like to see a lot of development made in relation to industrial placements for students in France and especially in Normandy. Is that something that you would support and encourage?
We're very keen on that. We're very, very keen on that. And I'd say that we're sort of preparing the ground, hopefully, at the moment to really open up those sort of opportunities for Irish youngsters and Norman youngsters. I think it's extremely important. You know, last year we came over to Normandy. We had various consultations with the Irish government. We've had discussions with the local authorities as well in the southeast of Ireland. A protocol has been signed between 11 higher education establishments in Normandy and universities with the network of technological universities in Ireland. That's a great platform now to encourage student exchanges. And on the back of that, I hope very seriously that we can get both Irish companies and Normandy companies interested in this idea of exchanges and industrial placements, because I think it can only be of benefit to both Norman youngsters and Irish youngsters.
The next thing I want to focus on is trade missions. So we get a group of Irish companies to go to Normandy to meet with their counterparts over there and maybe to introduce them to distributors and agents, and likewise then for companies there in Normandy to come to the southeast of Ireland and to Wexford. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Michael?
Well, it's not happened yet, but I think that's very doable. I think that many of the sort of product areas, I mean, we're hot on cheese and cider. I know Ireland, you are too as well. And the agricultural produce on both sides of the sea are strong points, but there's still room, I think, for market on both sides. And I think that on an industry perspective, Normandy actually, although it's got absolutely fabulous countryside, it's a region that has to reconcile both agriculture, environment, but also industry, and particularly further east in Normandy, the energy sector is particularly well represented. There are all sorts of huge projects that are taking place to sort of improve the energy mix and increase France's own autonomy on the energy front. And they're struggling for personnel. They're struggling to attract the young recruits, and there are all sorts of opportunities there for Irish students as well. So I think this whole idea of economic exchange between the southeast of Ireland and Normandy makes great sense to both sides.
And of course, next week you are planning a Normandy invasion of Ireland with the Normandy Food Tour. So what have you...
friendly invasion, I have to admit. Very much so.
So what have you planned for the June bank holiday weekend in that regard?
It should be great fun. We're coming to Dublin on the 3rd. We're coming to Waterford Cathedral Gardens on the 4th, and we're going to the quayside at New Ross on the 5th. And basically, we did this in the UK, in historic Norman towns last year in Hastings, Windsor, Canterbury and Norwich. And we had it, basically, it is great fun. There's a whole convoy of us with food trucks providing tasting sessions of cheese, cakes, biscuits, apple juices, sparkling apple, and as you can well imagine, a variety of ciders. And we have to admit, Calvados and Calvados cocktails. And it's just a great mix, and it's a great fun. We have various events for kids as well, and lots of things that are family friendly. And we round it all off with a super concert where we have a young indie pop group called For the Hackers. They've even adopted an English name, but they sing in French, but it's very accessible. They're great fun. They're brilliant, and they basically perform on top of their solar-powered bus. And It's just a great way to end a great afternoon. So between noon and 7 o'clock, we'll be there, and it's just a great opportunity. It's a free event. It's a great opportunity to enjoy yourselves, sample the tastings. There will be various products on sale as well, direct from the producers, so people can, stock up on cider and cheese and Calvados. But it's just a great opportunity to enjoy yourselves and to mix with the Normandy people. There's a whole group of over 40 of us. And as I say, a very friendly invasion.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Michael Dodds, head of the Normandy Tourism Board, and I would certainly encourage your listeners to welcome the friendly Norman invaders to New Ross next weekend.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.